back to GBGuns. As you just saw from that mess, over the years of trying and carrying different guns in different positions, I've tried different holsters and come to note some things that I like and don't like about them. We've also been sent quite a few holsters to review or try out or use in video. And so when I was teaching, one of the things I got asked most frequently, I'd say, is about holster selection. And that boils down to three basic things. First off, the holster that is going to work best for you depends on the gun you're carrying, where you're carrying it, your body shape and size, and your fashion, your clothing. Some clothing makes it easier to conceal than others, and so all of those things mean that chances are whatever ad you see or whatever your friend said may or may not work for you. Not that they're trying to mislead you, just that it doesn't quite work for you. So the good news is there's so much variety out there that you will find the perfect holster for you. The bad news is chances are that's not going to be the first holster you try. It's generally the fourth or fifth. I'm going to try to help you make that the second or third. So there are a few different main types of holsters, and we're going to try to go through them, and I'll talk about pros and cons. First up, obviously what I have here are these big half-breed style with some type of leather padding on the body and then a hard shell for the gun. Now these are popular because they can be quite comfortable. You've got a lot of material to spread out the weight and the pressure of the gun on your side. Downfall to them, of course, is they can be quite warm, especially with traditional leather like this one. Another fault in this one, and it's something to watch for in all holsters, is how much flex is in the clip. So these clips, that rear one was nice and soft, this one might be kind of brittle, and that's how you end up with something like this where the clip breaks. So plus to this one, especially this is from Thies holsters, is this guy makes them himself, custom, to order every time. I have this holster because at the time, and I forget what the gun was, he was the only one making a holster for it. So that's the plus and minus of this style. Some companies have some advantages and disadvantages over others. This one you can see has metal clips. These are going to be more durable and a nice tall flap. It's also hugely oversized for such a small gun. This is a Galco, and this smooth leather is plenty comfortable in the wintertime. In the summertime, it's going to be hot and toasty. Here's an Alien Gear. Alien Gear is a great, affordable holster. You can see this is much more flexible because it's not real leather. This is their alien skin, they call it, and it's got a neoprene backing. Very, very comfortable. Clips, a little bit loose, but the great thing about clips is they can be changed. For example, on this one, I've been using two different types of these Ulti clips. I have a separate video on those. The Ulti clip actually clips onto your pants behind the belt. So you actually don't even need a belt. Makes the whole thing sit a little bit lower and means there's no obvious clip sticking over your belt. I've used these clips while wearing a dress shirt tucked into my pants, and with these clips behind the belt if you're wearing a black belt. Very, very concealable. Excellent. This one, of course, is leather, not as nice as the neoprene. So that's taking a look at the half-breed style holsters. Classic leather. So leather breaks in over time and starts to take some form. You can see this one by 1791. One of the most comfortable holsters I've ever tried. Has adapted quite well to carrying my Bursa BP9cc. A plus with solid leather is that it doesn't have to be made exactly for the gun. In fact, these are just sized generally and don't have specific applications to them. Which means also, like, let's say my Walther PPS M2 fits. Now you do notice that there's not a perfect draw here. So that narrow spot means that on a draw, I'd have a tough time. I'd be grabbing here to pull out and having to shift my hand to get on the gun, which is not a positive. So this I wouldn't say is a perfect fit, so well as the BP9cc, which although deeper has a longer handle, so I've got a better chance of grabbing onto it. So plus with leather is versatility in being able to put multiple guns in the same holster. You don't get that in Kydex. A minus with leather is it can be quite warm, although if you get nice leather like this from 1791, it can be very comfortable. Here's another 1791. This is an outside the waistband holster, and a plus to this, or something to look for, is you see it stays open. It's reinforced here, as is this Falco. Stays open at the top. That one's specific, this one is not, from 1791, and I use it for my Grand Power P11. This is a much better draw. You see that I can get my whole hand on the gun without catching on any of the holster. If I had to fault this fitment at all, it would just be that the mag release is exposed. This is, Grand Powers are all fully ambidextrous, but I haven't had any issues with it popping. This is another one that's incredibly comfortable. Because it's outside the waistband and because it has that shape to it, it keeps the gun tight against the body. The farther out from the body the gun gets, the more it'll want to flop. So keeping it tight against the body keeps a more secure fit. Also tends to pull your pants down a little bit less. Those are the benefits of leather holsters. Nylon holsters. Nylon holsters like these generally tend to be the least expensive, also the most generic in fit. You do have the risk of collapsing, which can make them comfortable. Also means that a reholstering would be difficult. These are from Coast. They work well in finding a generic holster. PPS M2 works in this. I've got good draw reach. Perk to these is comfort. They tend to be quite comfortable. This one has a nice breathable moisture wicking mesh on the back of it to keep it comfortable. This does not, however. This can be flipped and work for inside or outside the waistband. So it's a good experimenting holster. And like I said, the nylon ones tend to be less expensive and a less specific fit. A good one will have guides on it as far as what guns fit and don't fit. Another thing of note is that these are both open bottomed. The open bottom allows them to accept potentially longer guns and shorter guns, but it also means that lint and things can get into your muzzle, so you'll want to be aware of that. Solid Kydex. These are really popular, I think because they're the easiest to mold. This one is actually Bolteron, this is not Kydex. Similar material. High Threat Concealment uses it and Alien Gear uses it. I think there are some other manufacturers. It's a little bit tougher than Kydex. So the benefit with Kydex is it's easy to mold. This material, these two, not this one, can be adjusted at home using a heat gun or hair dryer. The material kind of softens up and then you can shape it how you want to. A plus with these is you can get a really good fit. Example, long gun. Nice gripping fit. Notice here on this one that this has all been opened up to permit a good grab without rubbing your knuckle on the holster. Everything stays nice and tight. Has a closed bottom. You see that the edges here have all been polished and rounded. That helps keep from snagging or digging in your skin. Now about digging in your skin, a downfall with these is that they are hard, so they're not forgiving at all. And if it's too hard, it can be brittle. You can lose your clip, like what happened to me on this one. It also doesn't have any give at all, which means if you're going to a school or a course or competition, the holster is going to stay right there and it's going to be in the same spot and it's never going to collapse on you, so it's easy to reinsert or reholster. Downfall is when you're carrying, it's going to feel like there's a 2x4 shoved in your pants, because that's effectively, I think wood probably gives a little more than this. So that is a downfall to this style. So going over all of that, what do I actually use? Well, lately I've been trying these four. I have 4 carry guns. One is in my bag or off body, and then one on body. The one that's on body I rotate between 3 guns depending on attire, weather, and type of business that I'm involved in. If I can get away with outside the waistband, this one by 1791, very comfortable and allows me to carry my P11, which is difficult to find holsters for. Strengths, extreme comfort, looks classy, as it did before it was a little beat up, but it's kind of breaking in, getting that leather feel to it. Downfall is the open muzzle, although since the P11 is shorter, it takes a lot for something to get into the muzzle there. But overall, this 1791 holster has been a favorite of mine. I'm trying to be as deeply concealed as possible. This one from Alien Gear, when coupled with the Ulti clips, has been an absolute favorite because it tucks in clips onto my pants, and the BP9cc is such a slim gun that it usually tucks right up against my body very nicely. If I were smart, I would swap this shell onto one of Alien Gear's other backers. The solid leather to me is a bit toasty and not as comfortable as some other backings. Downfall here, muzzle slightly exposed, not a real big deal. Highly adjustable, choosing one of these 3 holes, plus the clips themselves are adjustable. Tension is somewhat adjustable by changing out these backers here. Tension is totally a personal preference. You obviously don't want the gun to fall out, but if it's such a tight snug that you got to fight to get it out, then it's going to slow you down. So really it comes down to training and personal preference on that. Another one I've been using lately is this one from Clinker holsters. This is an interesting design. It's Kydex and it's got these leather offsets. Well, one Kydex and one leather offset. What that does is the shape of this here pushes the gun against the body, keeps it snug, but pushes it like that so that the grip, which ironically is the most difficult part to conceal, is also accessible. This leather up here allows for some flex and comfort, and you've got 3 different holes to adjust height. The clips are good and strong, and it's got good retention and hold on my Walther PPS. I've been quite pleased with this. I gotta admit, Clinker holsters advertising at times has been a turnoff to me. They offered me a chance to try this out. It comes in a GBGuns approved color, and been very pleased with this holster. This is another one I've been trying out from Raw Dog Tactical. These guys are on the more affordable side, but still a very well made holster. Clip has enough give that I don't worry about it snapping. It's got good retention. Does have an open bottom. The leather backer is not exactly my preference. You know, as I said, I like the neoprene that Alien Gear has. And as you can see, it kind of pushes out away from the body instead of towards the body. But overall, very comfortable, and these are incredibly affordable. I would suggest trying one of these to figure out what you like and don't like. It does have adjustable cant, as many of them do, by loosening this screw and then turning this. The cant, by the way, affects your draw, also affects how the stock of the gun is going to stick out when you're carrying. And the other mode that I've been carrying with lately, this is another 1791, very fine leather. In fact, after wearing it for months, it still smells like nice leather. Has conformed nicely to my Bursa BP9cc, another gun that's not the easiest to find holsters for, so a generic leather like this works really well. This is not a particularly heavy gun, so I'm not worried about a ton of support. The clip is definitely good and strong. In fact, it's so strong that sometimes it's tough to tuck into the pants. It does have an open muzzle, which I'm not a huge fan of, but with a generic fit holster, you can't expect much more. The flap here has been bent over by my body, which does mean that the draw is not the smoothest, but it's a very comfortable holster. Another thing of note, speaking of draw, is leather is always going to have a little more friction, a little more resistance to it than Kydex or Boltron or a plastic. So it's not going to be as quick. You're sacrificing that in exchange for comfort. And one last note, speaking of comfort and how the gun is going to hang on your pants, Size of holster makes a big difference. So with a design like this, you've got a single point for the weight to be pulling down. It's all going to be hanging right on this clip. So this broad clip here, notice it's much wider than some of the other ones. That's going to help with belt. Of course, belt choice is a whole other topic. You want a good sturdy belt. I mean, like a thick one that you can't pinch. So if you're going to go with a single point, look for a wider clip like on the 1791. On a dual point, it's not as important because it's distributed much farther along the body. This works well for bigger guns. I believe this is for my P99. Hard to tell. But you know, a full-size or duty-size gun is going to ride comfortably with this much backing to it, and the clips don't have to be quite as big. This might be a bit of an overkill. This again is the Galco. I think this was for the Bodyguard 380 that I used to own. Way too much leather on it. Nice big clips. I can say with this holster that I hardly knew the gun was there, except I knew the holster was there because it was just too much leather and too broad. So I hope that helped. I know I don't have the answer for you and your gun and your body type, but there are a ton of holsters out there, and part of that is because there's a lot of different needs. Really, like I said, it comes down to the gun you're carrying, where you're carrying, your body shape and type, and your attire. Those four things all dictate which one you choose. So you're probably not going to find the perfect holster for every time, but you will find the holster that works most of the time, and that's the holster you're going to want to look for. Hope this guide has helped. If you guys have tried a brand that you really like that I haven't mentioned, please comment down below and let me know what your favorite carry position is. I carry 3:30, 3 o'clock to 4:30 most of the time. I'm not an appendix guy. It just doesn't work for me. Thanks for watching.